Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. There are some amazing questions this week. Just as a reminder, two things. One, if you want a question and answered on the Q&A, all you got to do is leave it in the comments below. Make sure you leave it in the comments to this video. Now, I film the Q&As on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I'm currently doing this. It's 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. So if you want to be guaranteed to have the Q&A answered, and have your question answered on the Q&A, make sure that you leave a comment down below by sort of Tuesday afternoon at the very, very latest. Secondly, a reminder that I don't really look at the questions beforehand. I read them and answer them kind of on the spot, so you get my raw and edited answer to the question. And I will take a question that I think is really good, and I'll create a video out of it later on down the road. But with that all being said, I've had a very brief look. It looks like there's some great questions. So without further ado, let's get into this week's Q&A. So the first question is from Rob's Magic 101. And Rob says, thanks for the videos. I had the courage and confidence to do a competition at my local society. Did not win, but I'm glad I did. And I will put myself forward for the next competition. That is awesome, Rob. Seriously awesome. Congratulations, man. Thank you, Mr. Petty, for the content. So I do have a question, though. Do you get nervous before a show, competition, and if so, how do you handle the nerves? Yes, man, I get nervous all of the time. Like I did a video once on this channel, which you can find in the Magic Stuff playlist, coping with nerves, how to cope with nerves when you're a professional magician. The bottom line is, I get nervous all the time. So last night, I got back in at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was doing an illusion show with Nemid and Kat in Oxford. It was a big corporate illusion show. And like a really big thing. There were about, it wasn't that many people, but it was a very big swanky event on behalf of like a big events planner. There were only about 200 people there. And we had to do like a 45-minute stage show cold. And what I mean by that is there was no close-up beforehand. I find it easy when I'm going on stage and I'm doing close-up beforehand, because as I'm doing the close-up, I can kind of show people, hey, wow, this guy's pretty good. So that when I walk out on stage, they've already seen what I'm capable of, if that makes sense. With this, not at all. We went out cold, 45 minutes, and it was a very, at the end of a very stuffy day. And I was really nervous. I was standing in the wings. I was really nervous. And I get nervous before a lot of gigs. Competitions, I'm a nightmare. Like, I'm an absolute nightmare. When I was regularly entering competitions, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. For some reason, lecturing doesn't make me nervous, but entering competitions does. The thing you need to understand is nerves are a good thing. If you are nervous, it means you care. If you don't care, you're not going to get nervous. The only reason you get nervous is because you want it to do well, or you don't want to show yourself up, or whatever the reason is. Well, that means that you care in one way or another, and that's a good thing. Don't forget that. It's very, very important to remember that that's a good thing. So how do I handle the nerves? I just remind myself that I care about this performance. And I also make sure that I am 100% rehearsed. I make sure that when I'm standing in the wings about to go on stage, I know what I'm going to do. Now, that's a bit of a lie, because a lot of the time when I go on stage, I wing it, especially with my own cabaret show. And what I mean by wing it is I know what the opening trick is, I know what the end trick is. I don't really know what I'm doing in the middle, but I've got a box out there on stage, and every single routine in that box I have scripted and I have done a million times, and I know them inside out, back to front, upside down. So I might not know which routine I'm going into because I very much base that on the audience in front of me, but I know every single routine in that box, if that makes sense. But I'm very well rehearsed. I know that I've got the trick that I'm doing to a point where it can't possibly go wrong, because I've thought of all the outs, and I've thought of all of the ways that it could go wrong, and I've thought about what I'm going to do if it does go wrong. So be well rehearsed, and that applies to close-up as well. You know, if you're doing close-up magic and you're walking over to a group of people and you're nervous, and it's absolutely fine to be nervous, just remember that, you know, you need to make sure that you know your material. If you are really super confident with your material and you've done it 100 times, then you shouldn't be as nervous, okay? The other thing is breathing exercises help. A lot of the time when I'm standing in the wings about to go on stage, I just take a few deep breaths, and that really helps calm me down as well. I don't know why it does, but it always does. And then understand that the more you do something, the better you'll get at it, and the less nervous you'll get. I've been doing close-up magic my entire life, since I was 18 years old. I'm 45 now. What's that? 27 years. I don't really get nervous during a close-up job anymore. Like, when I go to a close-up job, I just walk out, I walk up to a group of people, I just do it. I know exactly what to say to get that reaction every single time. I've only been doing stage magic for about 15 years. And depending on the stage show, I can get nervous from time to time. Like I said, last night, terrible nerves. But that's because I've been doing close-up magic longer. I can do it inside out and back to front. So, you know, be rehearsed. Make sure that the material that you're doing is your strong point. Don't put something new in if you're feeling nervous, because that's just going to make it worse. And understand that nerves are a good thing. I mean, that's a few tips that might help. But the best thing for you to do is to go into the Magic Stuff playlist and look for the video on nerves that I did. I reckon if you type into YouTube, Magic TV, Craig Petty, how to cope with nerves, it'll probably pop up on a YouTube search. But have a look at that, because that was like a 30-minute video, and I really structured it on a step-by-step guide of how to cope with nerves. Not get rid of them. You're never going to get rid of nerves, but how to not let them overwhelm you. Okay, so Lucas Z said, "Hey Craig, great video once again, thank you. Pre-ordered Quantum Deck with my local magic shop before the trailer's out. Thank you. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Appreciate it. I have a question. Is there an alternative to the 3CM or triple threat?" Okay, thank you very much for buying the Quantum Deck. With regards to the 3CM or the triple threat, to give people context if they don't know what that is, a 3CM and triple threat are the same thing. A triple threat was what the gaff was called by Todd Lassen, who is no longer around, rest in peace. Jamie Schoolcraft calls it the 3CM. They argued back and forth as to who originated the gaff, but it's basically the same thing. And what it is it's a thin coin which has got a magnet in it, normally a Morgan dollar, with a milled down shell on top of it with a magnet in it, and then an expanded shell on top of that with a magnet in it. So you end up in a situation where you have these three coins, you have this stack, and it goes together into one, if that kind of makes sense. So you've got a stack of coins that go together into one, but you can literally hold the coins and drop the insert and the inner shell out and just leave the outer shell very, very easily. And there's a lot you can do with it. I've published some routines with it. And it's great for productions because you can literally have one coin palmed, produce one, produce another one, produce another one. It's great for vanishes because you've got two shells, so you can do a complete vanish of almost every coin. It's great for transpositions. As I say, I've published a lot of material on it. It's great for like wild coin and stuff like that. Your question is there a alternative? And yeah, the 3CM is very, well, you can't get a triple threat anymore because Todd Lassen's passed away, but the 3CM is very expensive. It's not a cheap coin at all. So there's a couple of alternatives. I can't speak for the quality because I don't know, but there's a company called Bluther Magic, and they have their own version of the triple threat gaff, or 3CM gaff, that I've heard good things about that I haven't seen, so I can't speak about it personally. I don't know for sure, but I've been told it's quite good. That's Bluther Magic. Also, a reasonable alternative is Triad Coins by Joshua J. and Vanishing Ink. So Triad Coins is basically the same concept, other than the shells are orientated differently. It's different, but it's the same. But Triad Coins will do the same sort of thing. You would have to, if you were trying to do one of my 3CM routines, for example, you would have to change the handling slightly in order for the Triad Coins to fit, but the concept is still the same. Two shells and a insert coin, but the way they're all orientated together is different without giving too much away. So if you want to do the same sort of things, but you don't want a 3CM, Triad Coins works, and this thing from Bluther Magic works. But very much it depends on the routine that you're doing. So, for example, if you're wanting to make 3 coins vanish. So, if you go and look at the Alakazam socials, when I was at Alakazam last week, they asked me to do some quick visual stuff. And a couple of the routines that I did was with the 3CM, just making things appear and disappear. And if you go and look at the Alakazam socials, you'll see that. Instagram, I think, is where they put them up. So, with the stuff that I was doing on Alakazam, I was just making coins appear. I was just making them disappear. It was just a really quick video for Instagram. It was one of the reels. Now, if you wanted to do that, obviously, you could just use 3 regular coins and use sleight of hand. That's an alternative. But if you don't want to go down the sleight of hand route, you know, before the 3CM or the triple threat came out, Troy Huser in Destroyers popularized the concept of using a shell over a flipper, which can achieve the same thing. And I talked about this a lot in my Flipped Out DVD as well. And Dean Dill had some work on it when he was alive, which was the concept of having a shell over a flipper coin. You show the shell in the flipper coin, you unnest the flipper coin out the shell. You then, you then produce the flipper coin. You can use My Move to apparently put them together into the hand, but you steal the shell, and then you can produce the shell. So everything you do with the 3CM or a triple threat, you can do with a flipper with a shell over the top. And if you're going to go down that route, a reasonably cheap way of actually getting that sort of gaff is by going and seeing Mark Mason. Because Mark Mason has some incredible coin gaffs using flippers and using shells, and that's well worth checking out. So there's a few alternatives. The bottom line is it very much depends on the routine that you're doing, and it very much depends on what you want to do. But I'd highly recommend looking at triad coins, highly recommend using a flipper and a shell over the top, or save up for a 3CM because they really are amazing. Okay, so the next question is Tyler Lunsford, hashtag one of the best YouTubers on YouTube. And I hope you're well, Tyler. He says, hey, Craig, love the Quantum deck. Thank you so much, man. Already purchased my copy, review coming soon. Hope you like it. What was your inspiration for the deck? Also, can't wait to see more about Netrix, especially the marketing section. Okay, so the first question was, what was your inspiration for the deck? And I think I told this story. Murphy's, Bo Kramer interviewed me on the Murphy socials, and he asked this question. And really, I'll tell you exactly what it was. And there's a few different things, but to be succinct as possible about it. I was coming back from a gig with Nemid, and I'd been thinking for a while about a particular routine. And the routine that I had in mind was a blank deck sits on the table. Somebody names a card, somebody names a number, and somebody names a playing card back design. And I had a list of different playing card back designs, and they would pick one of them, right? So what would happen is you would have somebody pick a playing card back design, you would have somebody pick a card, and you'd have somebody pick a number. And then what would happen is you pick up the deck, you deal down to that number, at that number, the playing card back design would be there, and then you turn it over and it'd be the card. And I'd been thinking about this routine for a little while. And on the way back from this gig with Nemid, he said to me, I turned into Rain Man. And the reason I turned into Rain Man is because I had the idea for what eventually became the Quantum deck, which for me was just 1/3 of the puzzle, which was having the card appear at a position in the deck. And I was like, okay, hang on. And it was really late at night, so Nemid was driving, and I was sitting there, and I was like going through these really weird maths things, and I didn't have a deck, and it was pitch black, so I was like, hang on, would that work? No, that wouldn't work. Right, okay, try again. I think I was freaking Nemid out. By the end of the journey, I had the basic concept of the Quantum deck, which was the ability to position a card in the deck at the number they name with no moves, which was great. I then put that to one side because in my head I was thinking, well, that's 1/3 of the problem. And then I was trying to work out the second and third part, which was the named card and the back design. The named card bit came fairly quickly as well. And that was 2/3. And you'll see that on the Quantum deck. There's lots of different ways of actually doing this with a named card. And then I really struggled with the back design. And what I wanted to achieve, which ended up not working, was having a kind of like a booklet. I wanted a booklet in my head. The concept was having like a booklet that you could fold up and put in your wallet. And it was like a history of playing cards. And when you opened the booklet up, inside was like a whole list of a whole load of pictures of back designs of playing cards. Like there's literally hundreds of them. And the concept was that you get them to open up and look at a back design and they're actually being forced. And it worked okay. And it did what I wanted it to do, but it was just a bit hokey, you know, because the card could have been freely named. The number could have been freely named. And then I have to pick out this booklet in order to force them. It just didn't feel like it fit. So after several attempts at trying to streamline this, I ended up just pushing it to one side and going, well, forget it then, this isn't going to work. And I almost dismissed everything. And then I was thinking about the positioning concept. I was like, well, you know what? This could be a pretty good utility device in its own right. And I started working out what you could do with that. And the card at any number, which is on the trailer, that came quickly. But I was more excited about the other routines that you see on there. So there's a routine with the quantum deck called Wipeout, which is like a nudist deck where they pick a card, they examine the deck, they pick a card, they lose it in the pack, they shuffle, they put it in the box, they hold the box in between their hands. They imagine all of the ink disappearing off the cards. They imagine all the ink on the front and the back disappearing and having just one card that's left, which is their card. And they imagine it in a state of flux and stopping somewhere in the middle. And you say, what position has it stopped in? Oh, really? You then tell them to take the cards out of the box. They're blank on both sides, and you deal to their card, and they deal to their number, and it's their card. And that all came about afterwards. So that's the inspiration. I was trying to create a different trick, and the quantum deck was one element of that trick that ultimately didn't work. So I suppose there's a lesson in there, which is when you're creating magic, sometimes you might necessarily create something that you didn't know you were going to create. And it's always about thinking and constantly, coming up with ideas. And then Netrix, man, I can't wait for it to launch either. Genuinely, and the marketing section is brilliant, especially on the silver section. But you'll see more about that very, very soon. Okay, so the next question is by Jason Lewis, and Jason said, just signed up to do a small set of magic. It's a local talent open mic night at the end of the month. Brilliant. My first ever magic show, believe it or not. You've given me the confidence to do this. Just as a side note before I finish your question, Jason, that's why this channel exists. And that's why I love doing the Q&A. When I read stuff like that like this channel has given you the confidence to enter a talent competition, or this channel has given me the confidence to perform, or whatever it may be. That's why I'm up at 6:30 this morning filming this Q&A when I didn't get back in until 2 o'clock last night. I didn't get to sleep until 3. The reason I do that is because of comments like that. And I get haters, I get trolls, especially recently for various different reasons. And you know what? It all just melts into nothingness when I see comments like that. So from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you very much. However, I'm thinking of a set list. It got me thinking about the one ahead principle, wondering what routines like that use it. I mean, I can do a hows and whys of the one ahead principle. That's absolutely fine. There's a lot you can do with the one ahead principle beyond what most people think is possible. I do a lot of stuff with the one ahead principle. In fact, there's a project that I'm working on with Lloyd that probably won't see the light of day until the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. So there's no point talking about it right now. But that project there's a lot of stuff with the one ahead principle on that. But it turns it on its head. It does it in a completely different way. But I can do a hows and whys, the one ahead principle. But yeah, I mean, if you're doing magic, especially on stage, the one ahead principle is absolutely golden. It really is. The one piece of advice I would give you, this is one of my pet hates in magic stroke mentalism, is when people do a standard one ahead. And what I mean by that is they do the standard one ahead where they go, right, okay, they might have, I don't know, business cards or whatever it is that you're going to write down on. And they go, right, okay, person number 1, think of any person from your school. Get the name, the first and the second name. I'm going to make a prediction. Fantastic. Person number 2, think of any city in the entire world. Maybe somewhere you've always wanted to go. Okay, I'll write that now. Person number 3, I've got a pack of cards. Say stop. That's yours. I hate that because the first 2 are so clean and then the last one is terrible. And from a method point of view, you have to have that final one forced a lot of the time with one ahead. Not always, but that's a conversation for another video. But normally, as a rule, you've got to have that last one forced in order for the one ahead system to work. So try to make that final one. Don't take the lazy approach to it. Don't try and take that last one and just make it super simple. Think about how you can apply it. So a couple of things that I've done in the past is I've used gossip. So at the very, very beginning, my routine gossip, at the very, very beginning of the trick, when I'm going to go into a one ahead principle, what I'll do is I'll do gossip to somebody. So I'll say, hey, think of a number from 1 to 10. I've got this list of 100 different celebrities. Think of a number from 1 to 10. Great. Can you, you're going to think of a number as well. Is yours odd or even? It's even. Can you think of an odd number? Brilliant. Blah, blah, blah. Do gossip. So at the end of that, I'm going to know what celebrity they're thinking of, but they don't realise. They just think that they've looked at a celebrity. I've asked them a couple of questions and I say I'll get back to it. I then go into the one ahead. I go, okay, we'll get back to that. Think of that celebrity. You, blah, 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 blah. Think of something. And it might be, if I'm doing celebrities, it might stick with that thing. So the first person might be, think of any film that you've seen anywhere in the world. You got it? Perfect. What was the film? Okay, interesting. Second person, name any music track that you've ever heard that you like. Okay, brilliant. Final person, I want you to think of a celebrity. Actually, that celebrity that you're freely thinking of. Can you think of that celebrity? Boom. And now it feels really, it's elevated that final point by using gossip. So you do gossip at the minute, you then dismiss it, and the time misdirection, they'll forget there was even a sheet of paper involved in it. And you're not using it as a revelation or a baby gag, you're using it to strengthen the one ahead principle. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. That's just one example that I do using one of my own products, but there's lots of other ways of doing it. The point I'm trying to make is when you're using one ahead and when you're doing one ahead, try to make sure that that final point is not just like a weak thing compared to the other two questions that you've asked them, because they all need to be on the same kind of level, and that's an example of how you do that. Okay, so the next question is from Artie Loon, and Artie says, if you use Digital Force Bag with the Quantum Deck, it becomes any card at any number. I have no idea how the Quantum Deck works, and if you can genuinely pick a number and need to use a predetermined card, Digital Force Bag fills that criteria. The good news is, Artie, on the project, which is a 5-hour project, soon to be a 6-hour because we're adding extra stuff to it, you will be able to very, very easily, there's 3 or 4 methods for doing any card at any number. And we talk about forcing a card that's already preset inside the Quantum Deck. I don't think we might talk about Digital Force Bag because there's a session at the end where we're sessioning on different concepts, but I definitely talk about Equivoke, full deck Equivoke. I definitely talk about card forces and bringing another deck. I also talk about having a free choice and copying a card. I also talk about what do I talk about? I'm talking about indexes. There's a lot of different. Oh, and then there's a couple of routines using birthdays. Doesn't matter. It's a really in-depth project, if that kind of makes sense. So for sure, 100%, you can do any card at any number. And Digital Force Bag is a really good idea. You're going down the same route of thinking as I am right now. So that's awesome, Artie. Yeah, you can do that 100%. Okay, so the next question is from Sting. Hey, buddy. Great Q&A again. Thank you very much. First question, what about a lecture tour in Germany? I'd love to. I am planning on doing a lot more lectures this year. This is something I'm actively organising. Hey, man, I would do a lecture tour in Germany. Make it happen. Get somebody to speak to me, or you speak to me, or tell me who I need to speak to in Germany. That would be amazing. I love Germany. Absolutely love Germany. Second question, how many releases are coming for you this year and what directions are they going in? Cards, coins, cubes, wallets, mentalism, or all the above? Keep rocking. Big shout out to Ryan. Thank you. So I've got lots of different tricks in various different stages of production. I don't like saturating the market with Craig Petty tricks, as you know. So this year I've had playlists come out with ACAAN, and I've had the Quantum Deck come out with Murphy's. I've got about another 4 or 5 things in the pipeline with Murphy's. I would imagine a couple of them will come out this year. Murphy's take their time for various different reasons. The Quantum Deck was shot almost a year ago. So they take their time, right? They really do. But yeah, so I'll probably have another couple of things coming out with Murphy's. The next one, I think, which is almost ready, will be a thing I'm working directly on with Lloyd. It's a Lloyd Barnes Craig Petty joint project. As you guys know, I work quite closely with Lloyd, both on and off projects, and with the podcast and everything, and we kind of jam together all the time. With ACAAN, I've got a trick coming out of Blackpool. It's not coming out at Blackpool. The live launch is later on in the year. However, it is coming. We're doing a soft launch at Blackpool, so it'll be on the stand and I'll be showing it to people, and you can buy it at Blackpool, but it won't be coming out until later in the year, and that's called Trivia, and I'm super excited about that. Trivia is a it's basically based on movie trivia cards that I designed. So you get 10 movie trivia cards, and with these 10 movie trivia cards, which are pro size, they look amazing. You can hand them out for examination, they can look at them. There's probably about 3,000 words over them because each one of them is on a film. So one's on Ghostbusters, and there's 10 facts about Ghostbusters, and they are real facts. And then there's another one on the Matrix, and there's 10 facts on the Matrix. And there's all these different facts in there, and you give them out to somebody. They have a free choice of any card. Your back's turned the entire time, and you can do multiple. They can think of any word. It's not a force. They can think of a different word. It's a different word every single time, and you can tell them with no fishing at all. With no fishing at all, you can tell them the word immediately, and then you can predict a word before they even think of it. And then there's other bonus routines with it as well, like a lot of my stuff. There's lots of stuff you can do with it. So that's trivia. You can see, if you're coming to Blackpool, you can see that. I've also got another couple of things coming out this year, at least 3 things coming out with ACAAN. I've got a few things coming out with 1914. The next thing that's coming out with the 1914 is a really cool thing that just fits in your wallet. That when I showed it to Lewis Lavelle, he just went crazy for it. I made him one up there and then, and he's been doing it ever since. And then straight after the Blackpool Magic Convention, I am going to Penguin. I'm going to Ohio for 10 days to film some stuff with Penguin. As I've mentioned on this channel before, they've got lots of stuff that I've been working on with them. We've been waiting for the pandemic to be well and truly over before I could go over and film it. We are now in a situation where I can go over and film it, so I'm doing that. That'll be a few different things with me and Eric Tate and Nick Locopo and Sean Dunn and the rest of the team at Penguin Magic. So there's that. Prop Dog, I've got a thing out called Crystallize, which is used to be called Craig Salty Balls. That's coming out at Blackpool. It'll be on the site soon. You'll be able to get it from Prop Dog, which is an incredible version of the Chop Cup. I'm telling you no more. And what else is there? So 1914, ACAAN, Murphy's, Penguin. I'm doing something with Vulpine, with Adam Wilbur. I'm doing a project with Adam Wilbur, and I'm doing a project with Orion Magic with Perseus. So there's a lot of stuff going out. But the thing I'm really excited about on top of all of that is Netrix, because it's Netrix that I have full control over, right? So there's that as well. But yeah, I mean, there's coin stuff, there's card stuff, there's cube stuff, there's wallet stuff, there's mental stuff. There's all of that coming out this year. And all I'm doing is dipping into the stuff. I left Magic for about 10 years. I'm dipping into the stuff that I've created over the last 10 years. But the reason it's taking a long time, so for example, Playlist was filmed almost a year ago. A lot of the time when this stuff comes out, I filmed it ages ago. And I spend a lot of time showing it to people. Just to make sure that everything's correct, I show it to the most knowledgeable people I know. People like Peter Nardi, people like D. Christopher, people like Titanas, people like Lloyd Barnes. I show it to all of these people just to make sure that it's where it needs to be, if that kind of makes sense. And you know, I've pulled a couple of projects that are too similar to something else once I've actually delved deep into it. So they just get pulled. It's as simple as that. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And super exciting. I'm probably one of those projects that I talked about is a joint project with Ryland. We created the trick together, which is killer. And when I say we created the trick together, we did. It was his original inspiration, and he's altered the handling to make it a lot better. So me and Ryland have got a joint release, which I'm so ridiculously excited about. So yeah, there you go. That's hopefully that'll answer your question. Thanks very much for asking it and allowing me to peddle my stuff. Okay, so the next question is from the Drunk Magic Ukulele Player. A couple of quick ones, Craig. For someone who has never done cube magic, could you recommend the best speed cube to buy and where? Also, the first go-to tricks for a cube, one gimmicked and one not to start with. I'd go for a RD, a Henry Harrius RD cube, because that fits in with every other gimmick. Henry makes the best gimmicks on the market, and that RD cube fits with all of the gimmicks that Henry's created. So for sure, absolutely 100% you want to go for the RD cube. It's not the best speed cube in the world, but as a magician, you're not going to be interested in entering competitions or improving your soul time. That's what Ryland does. He's got like multiple speed cubes, but if you're interested in performing, then I get an RD cube. In terms of go-to tricks for a cube, I I really love Cube 3 by Stephen Brundwich and brought out by Murphy's Magic. Now, I know there's some controversy over that because it was very close to Takamiya Usui, and Takamiya Usui's routines are great, and if you want to get into Cube Magic at some point, you 100% should look into Takamiya's routines. Absolutely. I learned from Cube 3. Stephen Brundwich is a great teacher. Cube 3 is awesome. There's some fantastic solves on there, and he teaches you how to solve a cube. And I think it's very important to learn how to solve a cube, because if you're working with gimmicks and you're working with cube magic and the spectator mixes up the cube or you accidentally mix up the cube, being able to solve the cube legitimately will be able to get you out of any situation you find yourself in. And I really do think anyone who's taking cube magic seriously should be able to solve a cube. Also, there is nothing more magical than walking up in a restaurant to a table where there's a kid and his family, and the kid's playing with a Rubik's Cube, and none of them know how to fix it, and you just pick it up and legitimately solve their Rubik's Cube. Even if it's in 2 minutes, even if you haven't got a very fast solve time, that's still impressive to anybody. So I would suggest, first of all, going for Cube 3. Also look at I can't remember the name of it. There's an online platform. I did a review show special on it recently. There's an online platform by Kev G and Colin Klaus. I think it's called Rubrics. And it's incredible. There's some amazing material on there. They teach you how to solve a cube. They teach you some original material with nothing more than a regular cube. It's not very expensive to get access to all of that, so it's well worth looking at that. And then finally, if you want a gimmick, I would start with Henry Harrius's Rubik's Dream, because that is a beautiful routine. You get a big shell, you get a little shell. Henry's routine is super smart, super clever, super intelligent. Yeah, I'd start there if I were you. Okay, so hopefully that answers all your questions. But if you have any other questions, please let me know. Oh, you had another one, didn't you? Yes, sorry. You did say at the end, did you know all packets of crisps go out of date on a Saturday? No, I didn't. Thanks for that. It's useless information. That's very confusing, but I appreciate it. Okay, so the next question is from the Fess, and the Fess says, hey Craig, just bought the Quantum deck, which looks amazing, by the way. Thank you, buddy. I just want to know your thoughts on providing new routines to the Quantum deck on Netrix, or even setting up a Facebook group community for people that have the deck and want to talk about the deck and share different ideas and routines. So, one, absolutely. I spoke to Murphy's the other day. They are setting up a Facebook group so that when the thing launches on the 14th and you officially get them, there'll be a Facebook group. So Murphy's are doing that. That's not in my hands. It's in Murphy's hands. It's a Murphy's thing. But I know they are setting up Bo Kramer said he was going to be doing it. So it's in Bo's hands. But yes, they are definitely 100% setting up a Facebook group. In terms of Netrix and routines on Netrix, I might... I do routine. There are routines on Netrix that uses an invisible deck, for example. There are routines that use a blank deck. I have no problem with including a routine on the Netrix that uses the Quantum deck. To be honest, it was originally a 5-hour project. We've now added an extra hour of bonus material to it, also, or almost an hour of bonus material. So it's almost 6 hours now. Everything that I've got at the moment currently with the Quantum deck is in that project. But, if I think of something new, I'll either put it in the Facebook group or I'll put it on Netrix, probably one or the other. But honestly, I think that with the Quantum deck, the best trick is yet to be invented. When people really realize what you can do with the Quantum deck, and it's not just a card at any number, I think it's going to get people's minds racing as to the possibilities, which is why I was so insistent on having a Facebook group through Murphy's. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your questions, and thank you for picking up the Quantum deck. Okay, so Mr. Harmon says, by the way, hi, Mr. Harmon. Brilliant Q&A. Thanks for answering my question. More than welcome. Here's a question. Can you list some pseudo pickpocketing routines that you do? Absolutely. So my main pseudo pickpocketing routine is the one that I've posted a few times about on the channel, and I've done it on a 5x5, which is using an extreme burn and a Gentleman Jack Himba wallet. So I have a Gentleman Jack Himba wallet. In one side I have notes, in the other side I have receipts. And I also have my extreme burn gimmick set up with receipts to notes. So what I do is I talk about pickpocketing, and I talk about how you got to get the best way to do it is to take the stuff out the wallet as opposed to taking the wallet. I take out my wallet, I open it up, and I show I've got £100 there, put it back in the wallet. I get them to hold it in between their hands. When they do hold it in between their hands, I then say, well, the way to do this is to use misdirection. I've got some receipts here. I take the receipts, I show them, I change them into the £20 notes, put them away, and then when they open up the wallet, inside of the receipts, which is great because they're left holding 5 receipts that are examinable, and everything that's dirty is away in the pocket. So that's my favourite routine. Over here in the UK, you have driver's licenses, and the driver's license looks the same from the other side. So because of that, for many, many years, one thing that I used to do is, and I don't really do it anymore, but I should start doing this again, is I had a driver's license in my pocket, and I would say, hey, I want to give you a demonstration in pickpocketing. Can I borrow your driver's license, please? That'd be amazing. So I took the driver's license. So I say, I also need a wallet. And as I say that, I go into my pockets looking for a wallet, and I switch the driver's license for mine, right? And I put it inside, I openly put it inside the wallet, and I show it, and I get them to hold on to it, and it's a Himba wallet, obviously. And then I say, when you're pickpocketing, you also need a Confederate. And as I'm saying this, my hands casually go into my pocket, and I palm their driver's license, and I say, you need a Confederate, that's you. You can hold on to my wallet. And I go into a card to wallet, and I load their driver's license, and I give it to them. Well, now I'm so far ahead, it's ridiculous, because now they think they've got their driver's license inside that wallet, and they think they've just got a wallet, but I've already set it up so their driver's license is there, and when they open up that wallet, there's not going to be anything there. So I go through this whole thing, and I do a fake bump into them, and when I do the fake bump into them, I then pass it over to the Confederate, apparently, and then when I open it up, inside there's nothing. I can show there's nothing. I put that wallet away. I take that wallet back, and inside is their driver's license, which gives them back again. That's a really cool routine that you can do. Lee Thompson, who's one of the best pickpockets in the world, has some really nice routines, including one with playing cards, where he shows 5 cards and he puts them inside a wallet. He gives the wallet to somebody, and one at a time, you're taking cards out. And you say, hey, you can use pickpocketing for other things. And let me give you an example using playing cards. And that's really clever. The construction of that is really clever, because you show the wallet, you show that there's 5 cards in there very cleanly. It goes in their pocket. Boom, you take the first one out. Now you open up the wallet, there's only 4. Boom, you take the second one out. Now there's only 3. And you do that all the way through until there's none left. That's very clever as well. I've got a thing coming out at some point with Murphy's, which is all based on credit card fraud. It's all based on pseudo pickpocketing, and it's using credit cards. That's a really cool thing as well. What else have we got? Pseudo pickpocketing. So there's a routine that Chris Congreve does that's based on pseudo pickpocketing, and it uses a card. It's really nice. It's a card into spectator's wallet, and he has a wallet, and he takes out the 2 aces. And he puts they pick a card and they sign a card, and then he takes the 2 aces and he puts the 2 aces into the wallet, into their wallet, and they put that back in the pocket, and he says, I want you to imagine I'm going to take out the 2 aces, and he bumps into them, and as he does, he produces the 2 aces. And he says, but while I was there, I actually put something into your wallet, and when they open up their wallet, inside there is their signed card, which is a really super smart way of doing it. Really nice routine. The new wallet that Murphy's brought out, which is the squishy wallet, where you can squish it down into nothing. That's a fun thing to do for pseudo pickpocketing, because you can just apparently reach into their pocket and take out a wallet without them realizing it, which is really fun. And then Greg Wilson's got a really nice download on Penguin as well, which teaches you how to take. It's a routine with a credit card, a borrowed credit card, into a borrowed wallet, which you put in their pocket, and you can take the wallet out, you can take the credit card out, and the routine is super smart. So those are really the ones that I can think of the top of my head. There's probably more, Mr. Harmon, but those are the ones that I'd recommend as a starting jumping off point. So the next question is from Warren Treadaway, and Warren says, hey Craig, great show as always, thank you. I enjoyed your top wallets countdown, as I'm looking for a multi-purpose wallet. I'm torn between the Orphic Plus and Nexus wallet, so my question is, out the 2, which has the best palmed card to wallet of the 2 in your opinion? I love the Nexus. I also love the Orphic Plus. At the moment, I'm currently using the Orphic Plus. and I've got so many routines with that. I'm loving doing them. So that probably won't change anytime soon. But I did use the Nexus wallet for a long time. Love the Nexus wallet. I'll be honest, the palmed card feature is very similar on both of those wallets because they're roughly the same size, and the way that you load them in is very similar. They're very different in many other ways, but in terms of, and it's not going to help answer your question, in terms of what has got the best palmed card to wallet, they're both pretty much they're both pretty much of a muchness. So there's very little difference between the one and the other, if that kind of makes sense. If you're looking for specifically just a palmed card to wallet and nothing else, and you want the palm to be super fast, the thing that JB bought out a little while ago, JB Magic, Mark Mason, bought out the Real Man's wallet, I think it is, or something, where it's super fast. Speed loader wallet, that's the one. The speed loader wallet. If you're wanting to load a card into a wallet, that's the fastest one I've ever seen. It's a very clever method, from a method point of view. It's very, very clever. However, if you're wanting a multi-purpose wallet, definitely not the Shadow wallet, because that doesn't do card to wallet. But out the other two, they're very similar. So it then becomes, what features do you want in the wallet? I absolutely love the switching concept on the outside of the wallet, because I think that there's a lot you can do with that, which is why I'm leaning towards the Orphic. But there's a lot you can do with the Nexus as well, and the peak on the Nexus is really, really good. Very, very different. They're both great peaks, but the Nexus wallet peak, very clever. So take your pick. There's no bad one. As I say, if you ask me which one I'm using, it's the Orphic Plus, but you know, they're both good. Okay, so the next question is from Juan Ramos. Hey Juan, great video, Craig. Thank you. I've got a question for you. How does somebody know how much to charge for a gig? Well, it very much, just a great question, by the way. There's a few different factors. How long have you been performing for? How new are you to this? Are you trying to break into the market? How much do you need as a person? So what's your income? How much money do you need to take home? Because that's a deciding factor as well. You know, especially when you're first starting, not necessarily down the line, but when you're first starting, kind of think, how much money do you need to earn? And how many gigs do you think you can conceivably do? And I go into this in great detail in Netrix. The thing that I would do is, because every area is different, I would do a competitor analysis on your area. So what I would do is I would ring up every magician in your area and ask them how much they charge. And, you know, there's some people that are going to be watching this that go, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't try and find out how much a magician charges, because that's really bad business practice. And my attitude is, it's not. I'm not asking you to do this so that you can undercharge compared to everybody else in your area. What you want to do is find out what other people are charging in your area, and then you want to kind of, at least when you first start, come in line with that, unless you've got a reason to be charging a lot more. What I mean is, let's say you've just won BGT, or you've been on Penn and Teller Fool Us, and you've got a kick-ass promo that looks incredible, and your socials are amazing, and you've got awesome reviews, and you've won competitions, and whatever it may be. If you look phenomenal, then for sure go higher than anyone else in your area. But if you're just starting and you haven't got much social proof, and you haven't got many assets, and you haven't got much experience or reviews, then I'd come in line with everyone else, and then I'd work on getting that stuff. That's really, really important. So do a competitor analysis, figure out what people are charging what, and write them down, graph them out, and go, right, okay, this person's charging way more than anyone else. Why is that? Oh, wow, they've got an amazing website. Maybe that's the reason. Oh, look at their show reel is fantastic. Have I got a show reel as good as that? Because if I charge that price and somebody's looking at me and them, they're going to be comparing show reels, they're going to be comparing assets, they're going to be comparing websites. Have I got the same sort of thing as? No, maybe not. Maybe I need to fall in line with this person. I wouldn't go too cheap at all, because if you're competing on price, you're always going to lose, because the people that compete on price are just looking for the cheapest deal. And that's when you have people that will just gazump you and just charge less to get the gig. And that happens all the time. So the way to deal with that is to fall in line And make sure that you're constantly working on your digital footprint. And what I mean by that is make sure that you're working on what everyone sees. There's this concept in marketing called 0 point, which basically means that these days, when people inquire with you, they've already got a good idea they want to book you. And the reason for that is because they've researched you online, they've looked at your reviews, they've looked at your website, they've looked at your show reel. Think about it. When was the last time that you went online, saw something and immediately booked it without checking out? Most people, Sarah did it the other day. She bought a new pair of shoes and she was there for hours looking at different reviews and looking at different places that you can get the shoes. That's what people do these days. They do research. So your digital footprint must look amazing. And that's what you need to spend all your time working on. And as your digital footprint improves and as you start looking more and more amazing, that's when you start putting your prices up, if that makes sense. And if you are constantly turning people away because you're not available and you're constantly getting people wanting you and you're not available, put the price up. You shouldn't be in a situation where you're constantly getting booked and you're having to turn people away. If that happens, put the price up and then put it up again and put it up again. But it all starts off with a competitor analysis, in my opinion. Okay, my friend James Samuels, who, by the way, is killing YouTube, killing TikTok, killing everything. James is absolutely the man. He's replied to my thing last week about lecture ideas. You mentioned about using effects we already own. How about touching on some of the out of ordinary routines with Svengali and mental photography deck? I've actually got my next project with my next meaty project with the 1914 is on the Svengali deck, and I'm playing with the mental photography deck as well at the moment. So yeah, that's a really good idea. I really love the idea of lecturing and just trying to encourage people to take what they already have and do routines with that instead of buying the next latest, greatest, shiny thing. So yeah, great idea. Thanks, James. Okay, so the next question is from Death Diablo, and Death Diablo says, what do I have on my keychain? So what do I have on my keychain? It varies from time to time because I'm constantly changing things around, but I have a Pro Mystic Rubik's Cube and receiver that's designed to look like a garage door key. So that's on there, which means that I've got an impromptu mentalism routine that I can do anytime, anywhere. I've also got Keymaster, obviously. Currently, I've got Freaky on there as well, which is Greg Wilson's routine with a copper key and a silver key, and it's a copper-silver routine with keys. It's absolutely killer. And I've also got on there Ignition, which is a really cool key through borrowed bill. So I've got all of that stuff on my keychain. So I'm set for like a 20-minute show on my keychain. I have added stuff over time and taken stuff off over time, and maybe at some point I'll do a video specifically about magic that goes on a keychain, because it's great, because it's something you carry around with you the whole time. But currently, if I went and got my keys right now, that is what you would find on there. Okay, Bala says, hey Craig, can you give me an update on the new Keymaster? I've decided I must have it and I want to know how much longer I need to wait. If it's coming out later this year, I might just need to order the version that's out right now. It's coming soon. I'm going straight after Blackpool to Penguin to film a whole bunch of projects. The Keymaster's gimmicks are made. They are in their warehouse, so I cannot see it would take too long. They just need to film this thing and then get it out. So please wait, just because there is you'll kick yourself. There are like going to be 10 routines with the new Keymaster, including extra gimmicks that allow you to do stuff you couldn't do with the old Keymaster. So you're really going to be selling yourself short. So I'd wait, I really would, but it's going to be worth the wait because the keys are better, the quality of the keys are better, the routines are phenomenal. So please, if you can, wait. Okay, so my next question is from Nancy Anderson. Nancy says, I really enjoy your videos, thank you. Further question, what's your favourite force you use? Are you going to Magic Live? I could not go to Blackpool. I'm umming ahhing about Magic Live. I might go, I might not go. I'm 50-50 at the moment. In terms of my favourite force, up until a few days ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said a dribble force or a riffle force. Or a timing force. You know the timing force where you say, look, I'm going to cut packets on the cards, say stop anytime you want to. Or a Garriolet touch force. Those are the ones that I've always done an awful lot. Garriolet touch force, timing force, riffle force, or dribble force. I prefer the dribble force to the riffle force because it feels a bit more free, like you've got no control over the cards. However, on Christian Grace's Magic Monthly, which is his monthly subscription thing, which I'm a member of, and you can see a review on that, on the review special tonight at 9 o'clock. I've recently learned a force that he calls the Hofsinger spread handout, and it is one of the most genius forces I've ever seen. You spread the cards out very cleanly, you have them touch a card, you then give them those cards and tell them to look at the bottom card. They do the force for you. I know it sounds impossible, but it's true. It's incredible. I absolutely love it. And as soon as I looked at it, I was like, that is going to be my go-to force from now on. So yeah, it's I'm a firm believer that different forces work in different situations, and you have to vary the force depending on the routine that you're performing. But I can see myself doing that Hofsinger handout force quite a lot moving forward. So Sean Goss says, hey Sean, by the way, hope you're well, my friend. Wanted to learn mnemonica because of the amazing ACAAN Invisible. It's a great ACAAN, it really is. I learnt it, and my question is, where would you recommend the best place for learning routines with a mem deck? Learning routines with the mem deck. Okay, so first of all, check out the Buena Vista Shuffle Club, which is a great book by Matt Baker. Then check out Order to Amaze by Pitt Hartling. That's really good as well. Check out Workers Number 5 by Mike Close. That is really good. I have a project coming up at some point with the 1914, which is all on my original creations with the mem deck. And there's a whole bunch of routines on there that's well worth learning. But you know, they're great. I've done a lot with the mem deck, and there's a particular routine which I will probably be lecturing at Blackpool, but not. But you can't. People have to take notes, old school, because which is one of my favourite ACAMs, and I'll be teaching that at Blackpool. So that'll be coming out at some point this year, probably fairly soon. And it's going to come with a gimmick as well that you can put into your deck to help memorize the deck. Can't go into any more than that. What else? Other routines. Darwin Ortiz is the other person that I would say. He does some amazing stuff. Check out all of his books, but peppered throughout his books, there's some amazing routines with mem decks. So that's where I'd start. I'd start there. And Pete Turner's got some great stuff with the mem deck as well. It's well worth checking out some of Pete's material. So check out Pete's material. But if you were going to pick one, pick the Buena Vista Shuffle Club by Matt Baker. It is incredible. Oh, and obviously, Tamritz. How can I forget Tamritz? And Aronson. There's so many people. I keep forgetting the legends here. There's so many people, but I would start with Matt Baker with the Buena Vista Shuffle Club. Okay, so the next question is NLG Paradox, and he says, hi Craig, I hope your family are doing well. Yes, thank you. Your channel is the best thing that's happened in Magic. Appreciate it, buddy. My question is, will there be a Nicholas Lawrence and Titanas interview anytime soon? I would love that. Have a good day. Titanas I'm working on. I've been working on it for about 6 months. Hopefully. About a year ago, I went to Nicholas Lawrence and asked him to do an interview, and he said he was too busy, and he said no. So I didn't want to push it, but it's been about a year, so I'll probably go back to him. I'd love to interview Nicholas, but I don't like to push people. There's some people I've wanted to interview, like Jay Sankey, like Nicholas Lawrence, and they've just said no. That's fine. That's their prerogative. If they don't want to be interviewed, that's not a problem at all. I would love to interview them, but I'm never going to push people into doing an interview on this channel. Titanas, I have a feeling will be coming soon. I've been chipping away at him, and I've broken down, I think. So, yes, keep watching the channel. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Turnbull, and Stephen said, tried everywhere to get the Quantum deck, but everywhere's sold out. Gutted. I'm so sorry, man. It's sold out everywhere. I think Penguin might have a couple. My question, though, is what makes you or any magician decide when to share such tricks and not just keep it as an exclusive for yourself? Is that a financial choice or a magic community give back? Myself and Lloyd talked about this on the podcast on Wednesday. For me, I've got a huge repertoire. I don't feel the need to create something and hold on to it that only my clients can see. And I love creating magic. I love magic. I think you guys know that. I love magic, but I also love creating magic. I love the whole process of creating a trick and everything about it. I love it. And one of the things that I love the most is when other people are performing the routines that I create. I went to a restaurant about 5 years ago, and the guy didn't know me or recognize me or whatever, but he came over to my table and he performed for me and my family, and he performed Keymaster, and he did a great job. And he performed the original Keymaster. And I can't tell you how awesome that made me feel inside, that there's somebody that if I died tomorrow, my trick that I created, that I spent time and effort on developing and creating, is still being shown to people through other magicians. And that magician cares enough about that routine to not just buy it, but learn it and add it into his set. Which is a big thing, because how much stuff goes into the bottom drawer these days? So much stuff. So the fact that that magician cares enough to take that trick and put it into their act, that's incredible. I love that. I really do. So, yeah. So yeah, in terms of, that's the main reason, to be honest. It's not a financial choice for me. I don't create magic for financial purposes. I just don't. I've got 2 businesses that I run, and that's where I make my money from. I do it because I want to give back to the community. It's why I do all these videos. I do 26 videos a week. I can't tell you how much time and effort this takes, but I do this because I want to give back to the community. From a financial point of view, what I do here is absolutely ridiculous, but it's because I want to give back to the community. Okay, so the next question is from Dan Bastigliani, magician. I think I said that right. Potentially not a magic question. Where did you get your close-up bag that you use in some of your videos? It's a TCC bag. It's one of their TCC close-up bags. You can get it from Prop Dog and all good magic dealers. I've worked with lots of different close-up cases over the years. That's the one that I think is the best. Okay, Lime1 says, what is the level of sleight of hand needed for the quantum deck? Pretty much self-working. The routine that you saw me do on Adam Wilber is self-working. There's a tiny little bit of maths. Very, very simple, hardly anything. But in terms of technique, there's nothing. Some of the routines do have a little bit of sleight of hand. There's one that needs a control, one that needs a force. But generally, as a rule, so there's some intermediate routines, nothing advanced. There's some intermediate routines, but I'd say 50% of the material on there is completely self-working, including the main routine that Murphy's chose to use to market the project. David Blaine says, put a routine together using the quantum deck and mental photography. Yeah, it's a really good idea. There's something on the instructions about using those. I don't do it myself personally for a variety of different reasons that I talk about on the tutorial. But for sure, there's, you can do. By just doing a deck switch, you can go from one routine to another fairly easily. Okay, so Adrian Triton doesn't ask a question, but makes a statement, which is very true. I'd be remiss not to add on the topic of magic for kids who don't have magical parents. Check out Ben Williams' Magic Dads course. Ben Williams' Magic Dads course is phenomenal. It's a course he put together on how dads with no magic can learn magic to show their kids. It is really cool, and he's got a lot planned for that brand over the next year or two. So yes, 100% check out Ben Williams' Magic Dads course. It's great. Okay, so the next question is from the Fess, and the Fess says, I have another question for you. I've been noticing a lot of these YouTube get-rich-quick scheme ads which try to suck you into these online webinar courses that tell you can make money fast, which seems like blatant scams. Have you experienced this, and what are your thoughts on it? Not really experienced it myself firsthand. I've never been sucked into it, but I know there's a lot of get-rich-quick schemes out there. My general, this is a channel about magic, not really about this, but my general point of view is, if it looks too good to be true, a lot of the time it is. Now, not all the time. There's business coaches out there that will help you improve your business, that charge an awful lot, but they'll work with you and they'll take you to the next level in terms of your business. But generally, if something looks too good to be true, it is. And what you want to do is do your due diligence. When you see an advert for something and you think, wow, that looks amazing, before you get really super excited, because a lot of these revolve around you getting super excited and acting immediately and taking massive action. Before you take massive action and before you get too excited and you fall down a rabbit hole that you can't get out of, do research into it. The internet is a wonderful tool. It will allow you to research anything, any company, any person. Look at reviews. Look at what people's experiences are. You can very quickly do due diligence on any company and anything that will help you make an informed decision as to whether what they're peddling is correct or not, and whether it's actually an actual product that will benefit you, that you can put hard work and time and effort into, which will result into you, taking whatever it is that you want to the next level, or whether it's basically the modern day equivalent of selling, snake oil or whatever it may be. Do your due diligence. Okay, so the final question is from Swartz Magi, and Swartz says, "Hey Craig, when will we know the exact date of the Netrix launch, and what are your reasons for the delays? First, it should have come out in December, then January, then maybe February. Can't wait. Keep up the great work." Mainly, buddy, just because we wanted to make it absolutely perfect, and we kept adding stuff. And what I didn't want to do, you know, it's my attitude when it comes to anything. I want to over-deliver. I want to under-promise and over-deliver. So when I say I'm going to do something, I want it to be amazing. So the quantum deck, for example, 5 hours of instruction. All it says in the trailer is it's a card at any number, but there's so much more to it. And it's the same with Netrix. I want to over-deliver. So I'm constantly working on new stuff that's going in there. And constantly, and every time we looked at it, we were like, well, with the December launch, I didn't want to launch it over Christmas. So that's why it was pushed back till January. Then we got into the office in January, and Luke said, I've been thinking over Christmas, we could do this. And we said to each other, that'll be about another 4 weeks of work, but it would make the user experience so much better. What I want to do is when people log into Netrix for the first time, they can't imagine not having Netrix in their life. They want to think, oh my gosh, I've got access to everything I want here. I've got ways of up-leveling me as a magician. I've got loads of tricks. And I want to I really think about the customer journey and how things are easy to use. And we wanted to make it so it's super easy to use. So we created categories for everything, and they link through to particular tricks. And we've just created communities. There's 3 levels in Netrix. We've just created communities. Think Facebook, but inside the platform itself. Because I've always thought it a bit weird when things launch and there's a Facebook group for it, and you're taking them from one platform to another platform. Well, inside Netrix, we've got a Facebook group, and it's called a community, and we've got one for the bronze, one for silver, one for gold. Gold members can go in all 3, silver members can go in bronze and silver, bronze members just go in bronze. And it's a community where people can talk about absolutely anything, and we keep it within the platform. We've set it so that after somebody watches a trick, you can leave a review, which is automatically uploaded onto the landing page for that particular trick, and you get pushed to leave a review. We've got it so that at the end of every week, you get sent an email with all of the tricks that you've started watching and you haven't finished yet. We're just constantly working on making the user experience amazing. And that's really important for me. And if that means I need to push it back a couple of months before I launch it, but I've got it right, then that's absolutely what I'm going to do, because I don't want to put my name onto something which isn't as good as it could be. I want this to be the vision I wanted it to be a couple of years ago, and I'm not prepared to sacrifice that to rush it out and half-arse it. So that's the reason, buddy. It's coming very, very soon. We are now in beta. We are now currently in beta on this thing, so it should be launching any day now. I'd like to see that it's going to be out by the Blackpool Magic Convention, but you know what? If it's not out by the Blackpool Magic Convention, I don't care. If I have to hold it back, I will. So there you go, guys. That is another Q&A in the bag. Thank you very much for joining me right here on Magic TV and for asking some amazing questions. Don't forget, if you want to have your question answered on the Q&A, then very simply leave your comment down below. Leave your question down below on this video. If it goes in any other videos, I might not see it. Leave it on this video and I will get to it next week. You want to leave that comment by Tuesday at the latest. Don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and I'm going to be back again tomorrow. Well, actually, I'm going to be back today. This is 12 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to have a shorts. 6 o'clock, I'm going to have a live. At 9 o'clock, I'm going to be back here with a review show special on Christian Grace's Magic Monthly, which is his membership site. So I'll be back here at 9 o'clock reviewing that. I'll be performing some of the routines off Christian's thing. I will see you again soon. Thanks very much for watching. Tomorrow, by the way, we're going to have a 5x5 at 9 o'clock, but I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.